I'm at Victoria Du Maurier. What did you want to talk about?
My name is Victoria Du Maurier. I live in Precinct 3. I'm in Kingsland. I wanted to say that I support the purchasing these two vehicles for the sheriff's office. The reason that I do, I've listened to the tapes of the commissioner's report of the past, that I wasn't able to be here. I've been a victim of a violent crime. I worked really hard in testifying to put the criminal in jail. My understanding is that one of the vehicles that has the highest mileage is a vehicle that transports prisoners. I wouldn't want that vehicle to break down and a prisoner to get away, but I worked hard to testify against, to put him to jail. I would like them to go to prison. I've also had an opportunity, I helped a friend move in Kingsland, and there was a kind of a domestic violence situation. I had an opportunity to call the sheriff. They responded quickly. I wouldn't want the vehicle that was coming out to help me as a citizen to break down because we had high mileage. I believe the funds are there. I think it's important to support our sheriff. I moved here from San Antonio and was very involved with the police department in San Antonio. I started by being cellular on patrol. We were trained, to walk around our subdivision, our neighborhood, 264 houses in my subdivision. We went through training. My husband and I, we did ride-alongs. Then later we had an opportunity to have what's called Citizens Police Academy. We went for 6 months. And we learned about the different departments of the police department. They came in, did presentations. I don't know if it matters, but my husband and I raised Belgian Malinois. Those are the dogs that patrol our military bases. We raised them for Lackland Air Force bases. Lackland Air Force Base in San Antonio. Those dogs that don't make it to work for our military and support our bases worldwide and hunt for bombs and find bad guys like Bin Laden. They become police dogs, so I try to support our sheriffs, our police, wherever I live. I think it's important. Maybe just the police here, it's different. Kingsland's not incorporated. But we have a sheriff's department, we have Constable Bill. I think it's very important that we give them the tools that they need. If I hire a man to do a job at my house, he has to have the proper tools. Without the proper tools, he can't perform the job. I think we're putting them at a disadvantage by not giving them the tools that they need to do their job. So that's my 2 cents. I was told that I'm allowed to speak here. The other thing I like to say is I'm going to miss the office being in Kingsland. I like having Constable Bill Edwards. I like having my commissioner, Ron Wilson. I like having Justice of the Peace Office there. I don't know if it's a done deal, if it's been voted on and that's it. I just like to say, I go to a large church in Kingsland. I know a lot of older people that live. I work with a lot of older people in Kingsland. A lot of people aren't happy about it. Thank you.
Thank you. Okay, number 3, Dee Hyatt.
Did you want me to speak now, or we
Whatever you would like to do.
The resolution.
Whatever you'd like to do. You can, I don't know, we have a long agenda. I'm not sure when we'll get to it. If you want to speak now. Okay. All right. We'll help her till we get to number 8. All right, number 4, Bill Blackburn.
I just want to speak when item 20 comes up.
Okay. Tracy Renfield. Did you want to speak to?
Yes.
Okay. Do you want to speak now, or do you want to wait for the agenda?
Mine's next.
Well, we actually have some people that I'm trying to get out of here that I wanted to take up. Okay, all right. All right, then that takes care. And this is an executive session authorized by the Texas Government Code, Section 551.071, for consultation with legal counsel. Llano County Commissioners Court will meet in executive session to receive information and advice from legal counsel. So if we could please clear the courtroom. Okay, we're returning to open session. It is now 11:42. And Mr. Allison is going to, I believe, make a statement and give an update.
Thank you, Judge. Y'all have asked me to make some comments because we just spent 2 hours in closed session, and I know you're probably wondering what in the world took 2 hours. You ask the lawyer what time it is, he'll tell you how to make a watch. But you probably know that I'm required to give advice to them in a confidential meeting, just as you're entitled for your attorney to keep confidential your communication. So that's a requirement of law. But they have asked me to come out and talk a little bit about the issues that they're dealing with and responsibilities that they have and how they're going about them, so that you understand kind of where we are and where we can go forward. We have, and you know, we're from Texas, and we're different, and we're proud of it. One of the things about us is that we have a state constitution unlike any other. It's not only the longest state constitution in the union, we have more elected public offices than any other state in the union as well. That's because when they wrote our Constitution in 1876, they were coming out from under a very centralized government under the Reconstruction period, where basically the governor ran local government, appointed local officials. And they said, we didn't like that. We want to make sure that power is distributed as broadly as possible, and there are checks and balances on everybody. And nobody's going to be able to abuse the power. So create all those elected offices responsible to the voters. They also gave each of them very distinct, separate duties to carry out, and said, you're in charge of carrying out these duties. They also created a commissioner's court, and they said, this is going to be the legislative branch, similar to the legislature. They're going to be in charge of the finances. They're going to have to decide how much is spent of the county's money, and then they're going to have to vote to take it away from the taxpayers. They're going to have to vote on the tax rate. So they created that check and balance, that tension, if you will, of elected officials want to do the best job they can, provide the best services that they can, but they create a commissioner's court saying, well, you're only going to get this much money to do it, because our job is to make sure you don't get any more money than required. So that tension has been there, it's designed to be there, it will always be there. They also said to the commissioner's court, you're going to be in charge of county business, whatever business of the county relates to things that aren't under the specific duties of the other elected officials, as the legislature may determine. So every 2 years, the legislature gets to decide what additional duties will be carried out by the commissioner's court. And that's all in something called the local government code, a great deal of these. And we refer to that often to try to figure it out. Over time, they said Commissioner's Court, and y'all heard some issues this morning already that relate to this. Commissioner's Court, when it comes to liabilities of the county, claims against the county, lawsuits involving the county, you're going to be the one that's going to decide whether to insure those claims, if so, with whom, or how much, because you're the one that's going to have to raise the money to pay for them. If something happens out there involving another department, and some injury occurs or claim occurs against the county, it won't be that individual elected official that pays it. It will be the commissioner's court on behalf of the county. So you've got the responsibilities to make determinations about liabilities, how to avoid them, how to lessen them, how to insure them. and said, we're gonna make you carry workers' compensation coverage on all county employees. So if someone gets injured on the job, then they can have a means to continue to get their medical bills paid and to get some payment while they're unable to work. And we'll put that in the Commissioner's Court. So you're responsible for seeing as much as possible there's a safe workplace, that there aren't injuries that can be avoided. And you heard a proposal today that they can get a grant to help with that, and I'm sure they'll move forward with that. So they divided up all these responsibilities, and in many cases, they overlap. They don't draw a bright line and say, the elected official, you're to run your department, you're to hire and fire your own employees. Commissioner's Court, you're not to tell them who to hire and fire. Elected official, you're to assign them their everyday duties. You decide where they go, what they do, when they do it. Commissioner's Court, you don't do that. But Commissioner's Court, you do manage the overall business. You're responsible for the liabilities. And by the way, we're going to put in Article 3, Section 52 of the Constitution, none of it will use public property for private benefit. None of it. Elected official, Commissioner's Court, none of it. And that's all your responsibilities to see if that doesn't happen. So we've got this overlap, shared responsibilities to see if these things are done. Absolutely, Commissioner's Court should not try to micromanage or tell the departments how to use their employees, but they should exercise responsibility to see that all county equipment and personnel are used for a public purpose as safely as possible, not to incur claims against the county. The legislature said, well, that's good, but we're going to go one more step. We're going to create another office. So they created the Office of County Auditor. They decided, you know, we don't think these folks watching each other is quite enough, and so we're going to create another office to watch them all. And they created a state auditor at the same time, by the way. But they said, we're going to create this position of county auditor, have it appointed by the district judges, not by the Commissioner's Court, not by the other elected officials. And we're going to pass these statutes that says, auditor, you will review all claims against the county. And the Commissioner's Court can't consider or pay them until you certify them as being lawfully incurred. And we're going to tell you, auditor, you're responsible for seeing that the county equipment is properly accounted for, and that it's inventory, and that nobody takes it and uses it for a private or personal benefit. So they put one more in the mix. So now we've got elected officials, Commissioner's Court, county auditor, all involved, all with responsibilities, all hopefully looking out for the taxpayers' interest, all also trying to do the best job they can to provide the services that the public needs and wants. It is obviously not a simple task to get all that together and agree on everything as to where everybody fits in that. And if we cannot agree, they provided some means for us to try to resolve those differences. We can ask for an Attorney General opinion. Those are not binding, but they are persuasive. They are his view of what the law is. We can go to court and sue each other and take it to district court, and the ultimate determinant, if we can't decide anything any other way, that's the way we settle our differences among all people, is, well, we will let a judge decide, or a jury, and that's available here. We can ask a district judge to decide who's responsible for what. But obviously we try first to work together to see that everybody can get their job done and perform their duties. And that's kind of where y'all are. The Commissioner's Court has concerns about the use of county equipment. They have an obligation to look into that and see that they're used properly. County auditor has duties in that regard. Each elected official has duties in that regard. How they can come together, all get that job done is, you know, often the devil in the details. I've been asked to review the effort that they have made to adopt a county vehicle policy. It would apply not just to law enforcement, but to all the county offices, and make some suggestions on how that might could be revised. I won't say improved, because everybody has their own opinion about these things. I've been asked to consult with the county auditor about, frankly, most of the administration of these kind of things don't follow the commissioner's court. They meet in commissioner's court, and then they have other duties. The auditor's the one that has to review reports and claims and payroll and hours and things like that, and decide first if they're properly incurred. So I've done that, and I've made some suggestions. You will find, I think, if they choose to put them out for review, and I think they might, that they try to be very clear that it's not the duty of the Commissioner's Court or the auditor to tell an elected official who to hire, who to fire, where to assign them, what to do in their assignments. That's the elected official's sole duty, responsibility. It's everybody's responsibility to see that all that's done in the public interest, not for private benefit. It's done in a way to hopefully reduce claims, injuries, loss of taxpayer dollars. That's where we all get involved, specifically Commissioner's Court and the Auditor's Office. So that's where I think hopefully you can continue to dialogue, communicate, talk about it, see if you can come together on a policy that everybody maybe not like, but accept and move forward, that meets everybody's duties in that regard. But the main thing is we'll make sure everybody understands this is not stepping in somebody else's business. These are the duties delegated to the elected officials, Commissioner's Court, and the auditor. Just because we may not have required reports in the past and gone to that level, let's face it, technology is changing. It's possible to do more now. Transparency is changing. It's possible to accumulate more information and make it available to the taxpayers now. And I think we all have an obligation to do that. It may be somewhat burdensome from time to time to do more paperwork and put it in reports. But if we can be more informative and more responsive to our taxpayers and our citizens, I think that's what they expect and deserve. But there needs to be a balance. We don't want to spend money on paperwork just for paperwork's sake. And that's why I think we're going to look to the auditor for some suggestions on this, because basically she's the one that's going to have to accumulate all this paperwork reports and do all that. But I think there is a balance. I think y'all can find it if you work together. I'm happy to help with that if I can, with suggestions that I've seen in other places and where I think you can keep that balance. So that's why I'm here. That's what I'm trying to do. I recommend that the Commissioner's Court review the suggestions that we've made, review any additional suggestions that may be made by the auditor, members of the Commissioner's Court, other elected officials, public. Come back together for another meeting, and then, if they can, move forward with a policy that fits you, fits your county, and what you need. Thank you.
All right, thank you. All right, we're going to move forward now on item number 20. Request by Sheriff Blackburn to purchase 2 additional patrol vehicles for Llano County Sheriff's Office. And I think we have public comment on this one.
I would like the commissioners to again consider purchasing 2 additional vehicles. The money is available in the budget. Not in my budget, but in the commissioner's budget. We have vehicles that are between 185 and 195,000 miles. With 2 additional vehicles. My main concern is safety for officers and for the public. A good example would be We had that chase a couple of weeks ago, where we got the guy stopped before he came into the city of Llano, where his speeds of over 100 miles an hour. It's just that we don't know when we're gonna be involved in something like that. Driving vehicles that are approaching 200,000 miles in that type of circumstance, it's just a dangerous situation. Another thing I'd like to remind the commissioners of is my repair budget this year. I'm down to 26.5%. We're only 50% of the year done. I spent $32,316 on repairs for vehicles. We spent $600 just the other day on a 2008 Crown Vic. So we spent about $600 on about an $800 car. So I just ask that you consider the purchase of 2 additional patrol vehicles for the sheriff department, so we can replace these 2 that have one in excess of 185 and another in excess of 195.
Those 2 are the ones that sit here though.
Well, I've already ordered one, and those, what we do with our vehicles, we get a
Rotate them in.
an old, bad vehicle, we take the best of the bad, and we bring over here to the jail to use it transport. Going between here at the courthouse, maybe here in Burdick, here in Blanket. Then we have a main transport. This one with 195,000 is one we use all over the state and all over the United States. If we have to go pick up a prisoner in Missouri, or like we have to do in Arizona, or take people to the prison, that's the vehicle we use for that, for long-term transport.
Those vehicles, would you currently do something wrong with them? Other than those vehicles you're wanting to replace? I mean, I know they got a lot of miles.
It has 195,000 miles.
You know, and my pickup's got a lot of miles. I know I'm not, it's different. I know it's different from what I do and what they do, but, I still try to eat as long as paid for. But anyways, the two that got the high mileage though, I mean, they're the ones that are transport. They're not gonna be in pursuit, right?
We don't know. It could be used because, like, Dan Peck drives the one with 195,000 miles. He's primarily our transport and our code enforcement, our civil process officer. He's still a police officer. If he's out there working in Kingsland and something comes up and a chase ensues, he's probably going to be in it. He's got license IRS too. But now that vehicle would probably be transferred over to replace one of the 2004 vehicles that we have sitting out here for jail transport. We try to utilize the best of the worst vehicles, and then we'll sell them. Like we have, what, two 2004s up here? 2005 that we use for jail transport. But we also have to have a workable vehicle for spare cars. We try to keep a spare over here and a spare in Kingsland, at the annex in Kingsland, at the plant. Because when we have a vehicle break down, we have somebody hits a deer or something, that's the vehicle they take. And so we try to keep 2 spares if we can.
You know, it's clear that I'm gonna hire Mansfield. I mean, we're gonna, you know, you've got them listed, you got 3 and one with the 175 plus, and you got 6 at 130 plus, right? Yeah.
Yes.
Right now, and I know that every time I say this, John says, yeah, but what are they gonna be in January? And he's right.
Yeah,
I understand.
Next year, it's replacement time, they don't have 25, 30.
You know, and then you've got 5 that are at 100 plus. Well, I mean, we're clearly gonna have to replace some vehicles, and we're gonna be looking at 6 to 10 if we don't buy some now. You know.
And I checked on the lease purchase deal. Basically, it's not really any different, except it's a payment plan of anywhere from 2 payments to 5 payments. And then you're looking at an interest rate of anywhere from 2.5% to 7%. I can't remember.
Once again, it's clearly my opinion, it's not the court, but, if there's, my opinion is the vehicles are good and not having issues at this point. And I know we try to limp along a little bit, and I know you're gonna get criticized for saying that, but, at some point, I know, and John and I have talked about this, and Sheriff, you and I have too, right there in my office. I mean, at some point, I know we're gonna have to replace more than 1 or 2 a year, 3 a year, whatever. I mean, we're gonna have to replace, getting close to 6 or 10.
We've got some vehicles that, patrol vehicles that are somewhere in the 130,000 mile range that are just junk. I mean, they're just junk. And if we need to fix those vehicles to bring them up to standards, then it's gonna cost a lot of money in repairs just to do that.
It's just like,
And these 2 transport vehicles, you asked the question, I'll answer it, is that we put money into them to keep them up to a good operating level. But these other vehicles that we have, we've got 2 deputy vacancies right now. Once we hire these 2 deputies, they're gonna be driving the junk cars.
Yeah.
And that's
yeah.
what we have to consider.
Why are they junk cars? Are they older
Well,
cars? Is that
because-
what we're saying?
You've been on some of the streets in Kingdom. You know,
Duly
we've
noted.
all been on some of the streets. And we also.
What is Kingman?
Enough said.
City of Llano, too.
So I don't understand that comment, what do you mean, been on the
We've
streets?
got.
They're rough, the streets are.
Oh, the streets are.
We've got county, we've got town, we have all the rural areas that we go to. And sometimes they get bad use. I mean, if we get after somebody, we take Richard back here. He got after a motorcycle over in a apartment area, and we ended up with the front wheel out of the vehicle. We got the motorcycle, we got the guy, but we also had repairs, and it was a fairly new vehicle. And it wasn't Richard. I mean, when you're after somebody, you're after somebody. And,
So John, you got 2 vehicles that are, and you quote junk, but you're hiring 2 troopers, 2 officers to be able, and they would be the cars you assign.
Those will be the cars that they'll be assigned because they're the ones that are in service right now.
And we don't have a patrol.
And they're 130,000 or so.
I don't know.
So those are newer model vehicles?
Around 130, 40. No, they're not new models.
Yeah.
130 to
I was
140,000.
trying to-
Yeah, 130,
They're just not hot, they're not the highest mileage.
Yeah,
They're not
these transport vehicles, they're not hitting the streets of Kingston.
No, I
get
it.
People
I
are
get it.
talking, so
So
they,
Dan's car is a good car, but then, like the other day, he had to run to Fredericksburg, not Fredericksburg, Kerrville, to transport the fuel. We had to take. So, we don't know who we're gonna be transporting, we like for the passenger and the officer to be safe, as well as the public.
Sheriff, are you gonna, you can do whatever you want, but I just want to understand, are you moving like a 100,000 mile vehicle to a transport vehicle and replacing that with a new one, or?
We would probably
Something like
replace,
that.
we would probably replace Dan's, but we would repurpose Dan. Because it's better than some of the vehicles we have at 140,000 miles.
Oh, is that right?
Because it has a.
So you're gonna move them around as you see fit, that's the deal, right? Yeah.
We try to get the most we can out of the vehicle. Like these 2005 we've got out here. They're not very pretty. We use them for transport from here and Blanco and here and Burnett.
Right.
We don't want to take them any more than that out of the area. But like I said, I'm running short on maintenance. I'm probably gonna have to get with Cindy and we'll probably have to transfer some money to maintenance.
Well, we do have, I think there's about $13,000 in insurance claims to be put back in the line.
Yeah.
okay, encumbered money.
But like, at present, when I looked at it this morning, I'm down to about $11,600 on mine. And I got 6 months.
Then tires don't come out of that, do they?
No, tires.
No, it's fuel and gas.
More discussion? I'll make a motion. I'll move to approve the request by Sheriff Blackburn to purchase 2 additional patrol vehicles for the Llano County Sheriff's Office contingent upon the submission to the auditor of the VIN numbers of the vehicles to be sold or auctioned.
That's the motion.
I'll second that motion. So you'll be selling off a couple of vehicles, putting them in auction?
Yes.
Yeah, get rid of them, don't just keep.
Them $600 bid.
Probably about 6 or 8.
Maybe.
Okay, do we have any, we have a motion and a second, do we have any additional discussion or questions?